Welcome back to the channel, and today I have something super simple for you, and this one is going to be done using AutoCAD 2D. So what we're going to do is create the three views as we normally do, and we'll create the isometric. So let's go ahead and get started. So this drawing should really not be that long and difficult for us to draw. It should be quite simple actually. Even the isometric, as you can see, there's no circles, there's no arcs. And also in the drawing, I didn't have any kind of hidden lines or things of that nature. So it's just going to be a really simple drawing for us. Let's go ahead and start off with the rectangle. And then I'll go ahead and click before I get started, let's go ahead and do the normal stuff I do. I usually don't have this grid turned on, just because I'm not using snaps, and maybe one video in the future I will actually use the snaps just to show you how they are. They can be useful if everything is nice even numbers, and believe it or not, this one could be an ideal choice to use it. So maybe I'll make a follow-up to this one where I'm using snaps. So if any of you are interested in that, go ahead and leave me that in the comment. But let's go ahead and turn off the grid like we normally do. Let's go ahead and check our running O snaps. So these are going to be the ones that I should have on. Let's go ahead and turn on midpoint as well. And one other thing I'm going to go ahead and do is make sure that my ortho is on. Okay, now we're ready to start creating our drawing. So I'm going to start off with the rectangle command. I'll click here, and then I'm going to type in 100, 15. So I just created a rectangle that's 100 by 15. Let's go ahead and take a look at the zoom extents, zoom out just a hair more. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go ahead and offset some lines here. Now remember that this is a polyline, so I'm just going to use a construction line offset. I'll go to the draw menu, construction line, then use the offset that's inside of this command. I'll type in the distance that I need, which is going to be 35. Then I'll go ahead and offset this line going this direction, right? So now I'm only going to do one side of this since it's symmetrical, and that's going to help us out a lot. I'll go back to that same command. So remember, if I hit enter, it should take me back to construction line. I'll go ahead and hit the offset. This time I'll type in 20, and I'll go ahead and go with this vertical line going this direction, right? Next thing I need to do is I need to offset this height going up. Remember that the overall height of that is going to be 50. So I'll just hit the enter button again, go to the offset, type in the distance I want, which is 50, select this bottom line, click above it, and this should be all the lines I need to go ahead and create this one on the side here. So I'm just going to start off with the line command. I'll draw a line from this intersection right to here. Let's escape out of this command, and then let's draw another line going straight up from that endpoint to that one, right, to the perpendicular or the midpoint. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and use the trim command. And one thing about the trim command is that it's really powerful. It's a trim and it's also an erase. So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe out these lines here, also between here. And I'm just going to keep working my way around by trimming off all of these extra lines. And now I'll get rid of this vertical line here, this one here, and then trim here. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit the escape button. And now this is actually kind of created for us, right? Let's go ahead and get the other half. The way we're going to do that is use the mirror command. I'm going to select these three lines at the top, go ahead and hit enter, and I'll go from this midpoint down to this midpoint and hit enter to that question, right? All right, so that's the bottom part that's drawn. Let's go ahead and create the top one. We're going to go back to the construction line. I'm going to choose vertical this time. And then I'm going to select these endpoints. So I'll select here first, then here, to here. And now I can kind of do the exact same thing I did on this one by creating half of it. But here at the top, I'm just going to create the whole thing. So I'll just continue with all of these endpoints. And that should be all the endpoints I need to create the top. Let's start by creating a line somewhere above the top going straight across. So just make a horizontal line there. Let's come down. Let's go ahead and offset the distance of this line, and that offset distance should be 50. So I'll use a regular offset. The distance is going to be 50. Select this line here, and then click above it. Now, one of the things I want you to notice that I did is that I made sure I kind of took this view off of my screen. When I do that, it's going to allow the trim command to ignore where these are crossing at. Okay, so when I went to here and I zoomed in on purpose, I did that so I don't see that view at the bottom. So when I use the trim command now, I'm going to trim through all of this and I won't have any extra lines left over from the bottom. Okay. Last thing we need to do here is kind of create some lines that intersect in between. So from this intersection there to that endpoint, go ahead and hit the escape button and do that same thing on the other side. So from that endpoint to this endpoint, let's escape. The only thing we have left now is just to go ahead and erase these 4 lines here. Okay. Now we have the top view. Now that's what I mean by you can see that there's no extra lines down here on this view. Just because I hit it out of the view, it just ignored all of these lines that it's crossing. Let's go ahead and create the other piece over here along this side. So I'll start off with the line command. I'm just going to touch this endpoint, and then I'm going to track off of it. I'll click here, come down a distance of 15. I'll go to the right 50. Let's go up 50, and then type C to close. All right, so now that's all 3 of the views that I need to create rather quickly. Let's go ahead and jump to the isometric now. Just going to move that down to the side. I'm going to turn on my isometric draft, and then I'm going to start creating this shape. So I'll start with the line command. When you're creating isometrics, always try to keep your orthos on. And I'm starting off in isometric left if you're kind of curious. All right, so I'm on isometric left. I'll click here, come down 15, go across this direction 100. Let's go up a distance of 15, and then C to close, right? All right, so that's kind of the front base of what we need. Let's go ahead and switch to the isometric right. And then let's work on this side. So I'll go line from this endpoint going back this direction, 50. I'll go up a height of 50. And then I'm just going to select this endpoint. Okay, so now we have this side created. I'm going to go ahead and take this line here and copy it to the other side. I'll go from that endpoint to this endpoint. Okay, let's go ahead and switch back to isometric left. Next, let's go ahead and draw a line going from this direction over 20. Let's escape out of there and do the exact same thing here on the other side. So draw a line going this direction, 20. Okay, so here along the bottom, we know that it intersects with this plane over at 35. So I'll use the copy command, select this line here, and then I'll select this line. Now I'm going to do this and have some extras, and I'll go ahead and delete it. So I'm just going to copy these 2 lines, go ahead and hit enter. I'll select the base point here. I'm going to drag this direction, 35, enter. Then I'm going to come this direction, 35, enter, hit escape. And then we can get rid of these 2 extra lines here on the outside. Let's go ahead and finish these lines here by connecting it from this endpoint to that endpoint. Same thing here on the other side. So from this endpoint going to that endpoint. We can erase these lines here in the front now. We don't need them. Let's draw a line going down here in the back, that leftover height, which is going to be 35. Right? And then I'm just going to connect right here to this front. All right. Now we know the overall length of this thing is going to be 50, so I'm just going to copy this line going back a distance of 50. If I'd done this correctly, it should actually intersect with that back line or this back endpoint. First, I need to switch to an isometric right. Go to copy. Select this line here, hit enter, pick a base point here, and come this direction, a distance of 50. Escape out of that, and then just go ahead and trim off the rest of this. So I'm just going to trim all of these lines in between here. Okay, looks like our isometric is done now. So now we're ready to start creating this into a drawing. So I'll go ahead and get out of the isometric. Let's pull back up to our regular drawing here. I'm going to go ahead and create a title block. So I'm just going to start off by creating a rectangle. I'm going to put the lower left corner at 0, 0, enter. And then I'm going to put the upper right corner at 17, 11. This is going to be a B-size drawing, right? So 17, 11. Remember, that's typical drafting lingo, is a B-size drawing. Let's go ahead and go zoom into this and use the offset command. Type in 0.25. Just going to offset this to the inside. Go ahead and hit escape. I'll select both of these rectangles that I created, and then I'm going to use the create button. When I create this, I want to create a title block, so I'm just going to name it TB and go ahead and hit enter. Next, I need to scale this up, so I'm going to select it, do a right click, and then you can go to the properties. Once you come to the properties window should open up here on the side. I'll go ahead and type in 20 into the scale X and scale Y. And let's hit escape out of this. Let's zoom out a little bit. And now you can see that that is my title block. Let's go ahead and turn our ortho off for a second. I'll close this window now. And then I'm just going to move these shapes, right? So I'm just going to move these somewhere from this middle point and kind of, get it to a good spot to where you can dimension everything. Now this drawing doesn't have very many dimensions, so it should be relatively easy to create. I'm going to go ahead and scale this down. So I'll use the scale command, put a window around it from this endpoint, and I usually try to type in 0.75, and that's what I typically will scale my isometric down to. And it looks a little bit better when you fit it into here. So let's go ahead and move this. And pick a base point close to it. And make sure that it fits inside of my title block. Okay. Now we have everything we need. I don't have any hidden lines like I said before on this one. If I really wanted to put one through here, I do have a hidden line that's actually running right through this surface here. So if we wanted to show that, we can, and I think I might go ahead and just draft it on this one because, it shouldn't take us that long to do that. So let's jump to the layers property. Let's go ahead and create those two layers that we're going to use. So I have a hidden one, and then I'm going to have one that's called dimension. Okay, the hidden layer, let's go ahead and make it a different color. Let's make it magenta. That sounds about right for here. And then for the dimension layer, I'm going to make the color red. Okay, the only line type I have to adjust on this one is going to be the hidden lines. So where it says hidden, let's go and click on the word continuous. Load. We're going to scroll down till we find hidden to. Once you have that, go ahead and select it and hit OK. And then I want you to select it again here and then hit OK. And that should change this line type now to hidden to. Let's go ahead and close our dialog box here. I'm going to zoom into here. I'm going to draw that line going straight across from that endpoint to where it perpendiculars into my back surface here. Let's go ahead and escape from here. Select that line here and then go up to your layer properties and just put it on the hidden layer. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and set our line type scale, and we're going to be using the annotation option on this one. So I'm just going to select this fly up here and zoom to where it is 1 to 20. Remember, that's what we scaled my title block up to. Now you can see that this line didn't update. All I'm going to do is just type in RE, and that stands for regen. And once you hit enter, that should update. Okay, let's go ahead and set up our dimension properties. And the way we do that is I usually like to hit the D and enter, but another option that you can also use is select here in the drop down if you're on this tab, and then select this icon here. Once you do that, I want you to double click on the word annotative, and that's just going to make annotative my current style, and you can see that up here. Go to modify, Once I get to the modify, I always start at the right and go to the left, right? So I'll start with my primary units. I'm just going to go ahead and suppress my trailing zeros. Underneath the fit, remember, we don't have to adjust this at all. We're using the annotation scale. Underneath text, we can leave the height the way it is, or we can make it a little bit smaller. On this one, we really don't have much, but I will go ahead and make it smaller. 0.125, and if you're asking the reason why I typically choose that, that's the typical height of most of the drawings we have here when you're using the imperial units. Let's go to symbols and arrows. We don't have any symbols, any center marks on this one, so we don't have to worry about it, but I'm just going to go ahead and switch it to none just out of practice. Go ahead and hit the OK button and then hit close. Okay, next I want to set up my dimension style as my current style, right? I got two options I can do that. I can select here at the top and then select this layer, and now this is my current layer. So anything that I create something on, this is going to be my current layer, right? To go back to the other layer, I can select this drop down, and then I can select the 0 layer again. There's also another one here where I can select certain things and make it current. So I can select here, and then I can go and select this hidden line here. Let's do that again. Let me select that and tell it to make the current layer. Once I hit escape, you can see that now this is my current layer, right? So if I wanted the 0 layer to be back, select the 0 layer first and then choose make current, and now my 0 layer is back making current. What I tend to like to do instead of fooling with my layers, especially when it comes to doing dimensions, is I will switch over to the annotate tab, and then here where it says use current, I select in the drop down and then I select dimensions. So regardless of whatever dimension, or whatever layer I'm on, this will automatically go to the dimension layer. All right, so let's go ahead and select our and start putting our dimensions on this. So I'm going to zoom into this view first, and I'm just going to put some rough dimensions on. So I'll do a dimension from that endpoint to here. Let's go ahead and place that dimension, go back to linear, and I'm going to select from that endpoint to here. Go ahead and place it here. Do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm just going to hit the enter button on my keyboard to save me from going up and down, up there to the ribbon. So I'll select this endpoint to this endpoint, and now when I'm coming up, I'll come over to this dimension and select that endpoint. That'll keep them in line with each other. Let's go ahead and take a look at this view here. Let's put a couple more dimensions on. So I'll do a dimension from this endpoint here, going to here. Put another dimension. Let's go from this endpoint to that endpoint. Click here. One more dimension from this endpoint here, going across to that endpoint. Once again, I'm just going to click on this endpoint just to keep them in line with each other. And then finally, I have one more dimension to do on this view, or a couple more dimensions to put on this view. So I'll go to linear. I'm going to go ahead and select these two endpoints. Select it here. And then I'll do one more linear dimension from here to here. Okay. So like I said, relatively simple drawing, especially compared to some of the other drawings that we have been creating lately, right? So this one here a drawing should be under 20 minutes to create, something super simple. So if you're a beginning user of AutoCAD, this would be perfect to kind of give you a rough guess of how to use this program. Super quick, super easy. All right. So thank you for watching this video, and if you do have any comments about this, please let me know at the bottom, or if you want to see me, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, me using the snap command. I know that's one of those commands that no one uses. It's like the snap in the grids, but I will show you, and it'll have to be on a simple drawing like this. I can put it on more complex drawings, but it tends to get in the way. Okay, so I want to thank you again for watching, and thank you if you are a new visitor and you're thinking of subscribing to this channel. I have, tons of videos on this channel that does exactly this stuff, and I'm willing to take your comments and kind of help you out as best as you can. Other than that, I want you to go ahead and enjoy your day, and I'll see you in the next video.